Chris.
And I'm Adam.
And today we're going to be talking about the Unearthed Arcana One D&D character origins.
Yeah, we're going to try to figure out a little bit about the origins, the options through the whole playtest material, and give you our opinions on this, and maybe we can figure out how this is supposed to work.
Character races. One of the big changes they've done here is that they've taken stat points away from races.
The races are now supposed to be more generic and stereotypical of that particular race, not to dictate exactly what they will always tend to do. They're trying to make it more worldly, saying that elf from this region is different from an elf from this region, but they still share the same genetic lineage and they'll still have the same style of traits that is common among elves.
Yeah, and
or other races.
One of the reasons they've taken the stat points away from races and moved it to background is just the sheer fact that they want people to stop picking races based on what class they're making. So now it's not going to be uncommon to have a dwarf wizard. It's not going to be uncommon to have a gnome fighter.
Yeah, it's not going to punish somebody for wanting to play something unique that's not normally played. There will be Dragonborn rogues now, where before there really wasn't, unless you just felt like not having the essential stats that you needed to play that character class.
Yeah, I mean, are there going to be some min-maxing with certain things? Yes, but they've really done their best to minimize a lot of that and say, hey, your race is really just going to be how you want to play it.
Races are giving you static advantages. That's really all they are. They're static features saying that a human typically can do this. A Dragonborn typically is like this. It is not a negative. Then no longer is there a connotation that a race is a negative for something else. It is a generic starting point that says, okay, I start from here, I add my race onto this, then I'm going to add background and class. So races are just there to give you a good base starting place to figure out kind of what you want to be.
Let's go into what some of the big changes they've done in some of these character races.
Yes.
All right, so one of the things that they've definitely changed is children of different humanoid kinds. So now you can choose any two race options that are humanoid, and what you'll do is you pick the game traits of one. So you can't mix the traits of both. You only pick the traits of one, whatever the dominant one is going to be. Mm-hmm. And then as far as your visual looks like, ears, skin color,
shape of the beard.
Yeah, all of that you can mix and match. But the traits is only going to be one. So basically there was a dominant gene parent.
Yeah, so no more other essential half-elves. No more other half-orcs. There's just elves and orcs or humans. And really now all you're doing is you're just saying, they're giving you the ability to say, I have mixture of parents, but you're really only playing that specific race.
Yeah, you can make a half-orc or a half-elf now, but you're only going to gain, if you made a half-orc elf, that you're either going to pick the orc traits or the elf traits, and then what you look like mixes.
Yeah. I am, and this is my opinion on it, I'm kind of on this because in different worlds like Eberron, half-elves are a true race unto themselves, as are half-orcs. Although you can still mixture and have both, but they are a true race, and they have their own advantages and disadvantages. So now the One D&D... for different places like that, like moles in Arathis in the Dark Sun setting, they are their own specific race with their own advantages and disadvantages. Now, those kind of mixtures, they're fun and unique because they take both of the bonuses from those races and get to mix them together. Now, they'll come out with some of their own type of weaknesses, but they're unique in that, they're not. This is also magic mixing with magic, so I kind of liked the halves having a choice of some of the other ones, some of the other abilities. Granted, min-maxing this could become a huge problem. Basically, let's have a human that also has dark vision constantly. That might be an issue. But I mean, it's
very obvious that they've done it this way for game
balance and simplification. Like they want people to be as simplified as possible, so the complication doesn't come with racial stereotypes. Effectively, I mean that's what they really did here. Is they took out racial stereotypes and said this is kind of what it is. Just I guess they didn't take out racial stereotypes, did they? These are stereotypical what they are. Yeah. But connotations towards what something may do. Right.
Yeah, they took away the player's ability to lean heavily in one side. Yeah. No more are you going to see the mountain dwarf fighters, the mountain dwarf barbarians, or things like that.
Yeah. So the mixture of the races is just their way of doing the same thing. Just saying, look, listen, we're going to a simplified version of the races. You're perfectly capable of mixing whatever you want, although I think a gnome orc would be extremely weird. But, you do you.
Interesting background, though.
Oh, man, that would be a really interesting background.
Some of the big noticeable differences in the races we'll go through right now. Just what some of the changes are. For instance, humans. Big noticeable difference is you can make small or medium humans now. So they're not just straight medium.
Yeah, there are small humans. We've met many of them before. Wee Man, very notable.
Yes.
is a smaller version. And just as capable of doing many things as well. So there's nothing wrong there. Also, they get inspiration after every long rest, which is a big change that we'll see in One D&D is more uses of inspiration and being able to pass them out.
Yeah, that's not coming from a bard, like the actual inspiration.
Right, yeah. This is having the ability to have advantage on any one roll, any given time, which is great.
Or any D20 test, as they call it now.
Any D20 test, yeah.
Which a D20 test is basically an attack roll, a saving throw, or an ability check. Yeah. Humans are still going to get one skill choice. And the big thing is that also there's no variant human anymore. You just have human.
Yeah.
And you get a feat of your choice. They typically go with the skilled feat, or you could choose a different feat.
Yeah. From the first level feats, which we'll talk about later. Pretty good. They just put them together, basically it's more what the variant human is, because they notice more people like the variant human than they actually like the regular human.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
Also, big change, everybody has 30 feet movement speed. So dwarves and gnomes don't have 25 feet anymore. Every race is based 30 feet movement speed or higher.
Which mechanically bothers me. People with shorter legs typically do not move as fast as people with longer legs. And from being a person that is tall, that works with people that are usually shorter, I typically walk faster than they would. So I have to actively slow myself down for people that are shorter than me because they naturally walk slower. I'm not okay with that. And I know I'm sounding very questioning, but that bothers me on some level.
Someone who's 6 foot tall and someone who's 5'2", that's not going to be that big a difference. It's when you go down to the small race. Someone who is 2'6" is not going to have the same walking speed as someone who is 6'1".
I mean, because you would see their legs just moving so much faster, having to move faster to keep up. Where a 7 foot tall orc is just going to be just striding like this.
I'm pretty sure they did this to just simplify some things.
Yeah.
Because, they're probably looking at this is a fantasy world. We're just going to keep everything 30 and keep it easy.
It's also backwards compatible with everything. So, the Leonin from Theros have a 35-foot movement, and I think satyrs have a 35-foot movement. So, there'll still be creatures that have faster movement than
even
norm.
The forest elf. Actually,
also has 35. So they're really just making
the base is going to be 30, and then you can go higher.
Usually, I'm okay with most of these changes, but for some reason, the speed change
takes away from a little bit of the realism.
Yeah,
So let's talk about this new race, the Ardling.
Not Aasimars, but have a celestial lineage. They're really the opposite of Tieflings. Like, these are actually the opposite of Tieflings, where Aasimar are kind of their own thing. These are the more animalistic. They're more of the Archon lineage, like Hound Archons. Most celestial creatures in mythology tend to have animalistic features, a lot of heads, the Egyptian gods and stuff.
I was just about to say, it reminds me of the Egyptian gods.
Yeah. Several mythologies all over the world, that's kind of a norm.
One of the things that they get is this angelic flight. So as a bonus action, you can sprout spectral wings for a moment and fly up to a number of feet equal to your speed. If you are in the air at the end of this movement, you fall if nothing is holding you aloft. It's a short thing. They can do it a number of times equal to their proficiency bonus, and you're not really flying.
It's a jump.
It's more of a jump
based off of your speed, which is base 30 now. But hey, this stacks with Monk's movement. Some people are getting this wrong that I've seen, that they think that you would only get a set speed of whatever this is, but if you have something boosting your speed, it will be affected by this as well. It's a modified dash. Effectively, all this is just a one turn. I get to get up to there or down there where it would take people longer.
Yeah, I mean, and let's think of it. If you're fighting something that's flying, at best you could jump 15 feet in the air and then go back down safely.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I have to say is they make interesting monks because they could jump up in the air, pow, 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 and then use slow fall to
down.
Reduce the damage. So, that'd be an interesting combo.
It would be. It would be pretty cool. I think that would be a great combo. There probably would be a lot of Ardling monks, and I might even want to play that because I like monks. But as in game-breaking flight, no. This is no Aarakocra
exactly.
Flight. This is not all the time. I can fly whenever I want. No, this is a short burst, which at first level is 2 times a day. That's nothing. So what? There's one of the elves gets to teleport the same amount 2 times a day. Teleport is stronger than flight.
I don't think the elves get to teleport until later though, like 5th level,
3rd level, I think. But we'll get to that part eventually. But anyway, it's not like it's that big of a deal.
It's really not that big.
30 foot at first level is nothing.
Yeah.
Like, how often are you going to have that many challenges that really need that are going to be broken by flight at first level?
Yeah, it's not really at all. And with the limitation of you having to end on a surface that's holding you up, that right there is what makes it not breaking. Yeah. Because it's like, okay, jump 30 feet in the air. You're going to take 3d6 damage when you fall if you try to stay there.
But you get to pick 3 different lineages: Exalted, Heavenly, Idyllic, and they give you different spells per lineage. We won't get into those. It's just your Celestial Legacy.
Yep. One of the things that they've done for sure, though, is anything that gives you a spell usage, you'll only be able to use it once per day. But if you're a caster, you can use your spell slots to now cast those same spells,
which is fantastic. Yeah. I think that is great. And especially it gives more ability for people to mix and match things, like especially these Idyllic. If you're a wizard and you pick the Heavenly trait, at 3rd level you'll have access to Cure Wounds all the time. And a wizard with Cure Wounds is really interesting.
Can be nice.
Game ranking? No. Versatile? Yes. Probably annoying for a DM? Probably, but if, good character builds typically are annoying for every DM.
I mean, I still don't find that annoying because if it's Cure Wounds, you still have to go over and touch the person. So your range caster is not having to get up in combat.
Idyllic gives you Healing Word at the same level.
Yeah, okay, but it comes with different things.
Yeah, but that's the point. It's just extra options, which is another running theme I see with this is in One D&D is everything is extra. There's no negative. It starts from 0 and adds.
Yeah. The last thing they get is radiant damage resistance. Not a big deal at all. Let's move on to the Dragonborns. Big changes is going to be your breath weapon. It is a 15-foot cone now. There are no lines.
No lines.
So it doesn't matter which Draconic heritage you go with, green, red, silver, white, gold, that changes the type of breath, but all of them are going to be shooting cones now, and they've changed the damage. When you hit creatures with this, it's going to be 1d10 plus your character level in damage.
So it gets more powerful as you level up. Probably still going to be later on where this isn't as useful. I like some of the variants where they used to have breath weapons where you could do it as a bonus action.
Yeah, and they did change it from the original Player's Handbook to where now, instead of doing it per short rest, you can do this a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus.
Which is good. I think that's definitely a plus.
Because that means you can use it multiple times in one combat.
Yeah. And it's just going to be one of those utility kind of things. But hey, the biggest change is they have dark vision now.
Yes.
Which was one of the sticklers for most of us of why does a character that's related to dragons not have dark vision when every other thing in all the D&D multiverse, as soon as they had a touch of dragon blood in them, they could see in the dark and they would have elemental, style blood and stuff. But
yeah, there's only 2 races in this. Three? There's three races.
Halflings, humans, and Ardlings are the only ones that don't have dark vision.
And then let's see, dwarves, 30 feet movement speed. There's no hill dwarf or mountain dwarf, but they've kind of combined both of them. So now every dwarf starts with like a half toughness, basically. You get 1 hit point per level extra. Forge-wise is something a little different. So you gain 2 skill proficiencies of your choice, but they have to be jewelers, masons, smith, or tinker tools.
Yeah, the creators, which is Morden is the creation god, which they come from. So they tend to have...
They create and build things.
Yeah, create and build. Which is throughout all the history of anything that deals with dwarves. Dwarves typically build things. Like almost all the time they're building something, which does not necessarily have to be a background thing. It's just what they do.
Now, this one is a big game changer to me, which is stone cunning. As a bonus action, you gain Tremor Sense. With 60-foot range, it lasts for 10 minutes, and you must be on a stone surface or touching such a surface to use this Tremor Sense. Man, invading a dwarven stronghold is going to be crazy. Going down into their tunnels is not something you're going to want to do, because, go ahead, throw your darkness up. Guess what? We all have Tremor Sense now.
Yeah, which is really cool and interesting, and they did say specifically stone cunning, or stone surfaces, not just any surface, so you can't really do it on, like, a battlefield, which I kind of wish you could. It would be interesting to say you did if the battlefield was full of stones or something.
If you're on, like, a mountainside, maybe.
Yeah, on a mountainside would probably work.
But if it's like a big metal building, or if it's wood.
Yeah, they don't get it. Like, they can't feel the same vibrations.
So it's going to be very specific.
It's very very specific and niche, but when it matters, it will matter, and it's cool. I don't think there's really any downside to it, and there's not really anything that's going to break it in any way. It's also only Tremor Sense of 60 foot, so
and they're really
most dungeons are weird. Twist and turns, so 60 foot may see another room, but it's not usually going to get the full scope of the whole place.
Yeah,
it's not like an arcane eye floating through. It's just like, no, I can figure out who's in this next room.
And they can do this a number of times equal to their proficiency bonus, which is one thing that they're leaning heavily into, especially since Tasha's came out, is a lot of things are going to be proficiency bonus. So if you have a special ability, it's typically going to be a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus.
Which I think is better because that gives you more choices of when you can use it or when you need to use most of these abilities.
So let's move on to elves.
Mostly the same?
They are mostly the same, although they have worded the trance so that you get a full long rest in 4 hours. Before, people kept asking questions like, well, is it 4 hours, but they still only
have to lay around for 8.
Yeah, like you get a full rest after 4, but you still had to do light work for the other 4. But no, it's like 4 hours is all you need. The elven lineages, so other things don't have sub-races, but the elves still have kind of a sub-race, which is your drow, high elf, and wood elf.
Yeah, which is giving them access to a cantrip and then kind of a little change on their particular thing, like drow have the 120-foot dark vision, no low light sensitivity.
Yep, no low light sensitivity at all.
High
That's a
elves
big deal.
can replace any cantrip from the arcane spell list. So
They start with prestidigitation, and after a long rest, they can switch it to whatever.
yeah, so effectively they can just start with whatever.
Yeah.
Like, hey, it's a different day. I choose to have chill touch.
But like I think that's a really cool thing, and that alone is gonna come with some interesting combinations and builds.
And you're right. Misty Step for the high elves comes at 5th level, so teleport at 5th level. And then wood elves move faster and have druidcraft, which makes sense. They're more at home in the woods, so
And that long strider and passive outer trace is gonna be real nice.
yeah. So mobility is their thing. That's fine. Other than that, elves are pretty much same as you saw them before.
Yep. Gnomes, 30 feet movement speed again.
Yeah, pretty much the same. They combined forest gnomes and rock gnomes. Although the cantrips they get, it's kind of interesting. Rock gnomes have mending and prestidigitation, which is cool because
the rock gnomes have that
builders.
Yeah, but the rock gnomes have that special thing where you can spend 10 minutes casting prestidigitation to create a tiny clockwork device, AC 5, 1 hit point, such as a toy, a fire starter, or a music box, and casting the spell in this way consumes 10 gold pieces worth of raw materials, which you provide during the casting. And you basically give this thing a prestidigitation, but you can only choose one feature from prestidigitation to give it. Also, if certain things like the ability to start a fire or displace a fire, douse fire, you can only pick one of those, so it can't be both.
Yeah. So they can make a little fire extinguisher and hand it to people. That's kind of cool.
And the forest gnomes get minor illusion, and then you can cast speak with animals a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus.
So they I believe they can do anyway.
Well, no, before they could just talk to animals.
Right.
This one, you actually cast the spell. Yeah. So it's a little different from what they had before.
Yeah, it makes them very much more what you would more stereotypical of that particular gnomish type. But for the most part, they're going to play like any gnome you ever played.
Yeah.
Halflings, pretty much kind of the same thing. They already have the stealth. The luck roll is still the same. Their nimbleness is still the same. They move 30 feet, which is different. They used to be 25. Brave is the same. So halflings, pretty much the same aside from the 30-foot movement, which still feels a little weird to me. You know, the dwarf and the halfling still being able to move a little faster, and the gnomes kind of, I don't know, awkward.
Coming from the tall person.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm prejudiced, I guess. Sorry.
No more half-orc, straight up orc race.
I think this is a good plus. I love some orc characters. Now bringing that into the regular race pool is fantastic because all people have connotations towards what orcs would be, and I love breaking people of that when they've met an orc that just likes to garden, has no tendency to want to destroy anything, and players always got confused when they're like, yeah, this orc is just nice.
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite characters I played was an orc that wanted to be a part of society, so he became a warlock so he could constantly disguise himself to blend in.
Yeah. And now just making that a base race is totally good. It's fine. Yeah. It's great for the game, I believe.
And
that is in the player's handbook, by the way. We know this has already been in Mordecanians, I believe, is where it popped up at for the first time.
Mordecanians, Tomophobes, or Monster, or Tomophobes.
But it's good, and then getting the adrenaline rush is great. The dash that gives you temporary hit points
as a bonus action.
And then you get a number of times per efficiencies. Dark Vision's good. Powerful build is great, so you can carry more stuff. That's for us that play Encumbrance. That's a huge deal.
Or, let's not forget, grappling. Powerful build takes a huge part in grappling.
Or you act as if you're bigger. You count as one size. But it's really for the capacity of what you could push, drag, and lift. It doesn't actually affect.
No. It's carrying capacity. It is push, drag, or lift. But this does factor in if your halfling friend gets knocked out, you can go pick him up and move at normal speed because of your powerful build. So picking up your friend, unless his weight literally encumbers you, doesn't affect your movement, since you are considered large and he's small. Relentless endurance, just like the half-orc ability, you have a one-time shrug off like, "Oh, I'm about to die. Nope, sorry, I'm at 1 hit point."
Yeah.
As long as the thing didn't kill you outright.
It was there beforehand anyway. So
Like
that's
disintegrate ray.
And that's what the forks have as well. So that's
Tieflings!
Tieflings, the big change to them is now they have 3 legacies. So they brought back the fact that Tieflings could be from any of the lower planes.
Abyssal, Cathodic, and Infernal.
Yeah, so demons, devils, and Evilofs. And they get the different resistance to damage types, which is very interesting, and different cantrips that they pick up, and different spells.
Which, they coincide with each other too. So, like, one gives you resistance to poison, and you can poison spray. If the other one gives you resistance to fire, you get firebolt. They're kind of leaning those in to make more sense.
But that's basically the breakdown of the races. Nothing really to complain about here. Other than just a few changes to balance everything or make it all kind of.
Honestly, I think they're doing everything they can to balance them out and say these are all on an even playing field. So no matter what choice you pick, it's going to be even all the way through.
Yeah, the true character choices that change your characters come from backgrounds and classes, not the race you choose. Which is a cultural change they're trying to make with the game, not a. I think it's less of a mechanical change and more of a cultural change they're trying to portray.
Yeah, it's like, for instance, like if you're the American and you're in China, when you meet another American, you're like, hey, someone I have something in common with. We can sit down and talk to each other. Or like, even me as a Vietnamese person, when I see another Vietnamese person, I'm like, ooh, I can understand that person. I can talk to that person, and we can share experiences. That's what the races is doing. It has nothing to do with
You're all still humans.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with what our profession is, where we're at, where we came from. It's just like, some a little bit where we came from, but mostly just who we are as people, as a race.
Yeah. So that's our take on those.